I mean, I feel like for Tennessee to play a plus game, they've at least forced one turnover, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm.
Yeah.
Kind of what I'm asking, because if we play a B plus, that means Alabama wasn't perfect on offense. Is it possible that we're overrating Alabama coming into this game? Because the vibe that I've gotten around town is that people don't feel good about it.
No, there's been a lot of doom and gloomers. There's been a lot of doom and gloomers. Tennessee's not getting a lot of respect nationally, except from Pamela Maldonado, and they're not getting a lot of respect locally from fans who've been crying, saying we have no chance. Low energy from the boys and girls in Knoxville this week.
Yeah, it feels that way. It feels like people don't feel great about our chances of going down there and winning, which I get. When you get beat down for 22 years, it's understandable, but these are two different programs than they used to be. You kind of factor in that Nick Saban was the coach for most of that run.
Well, not only was Nick Saban the coach, so was Butch Jones and Derek Dooley and Jeremy Pruitt.
Sure.
And a decaying Philip Fulmer at the time. And I say decaying, I don't mean him personally, just as much as his program was on its last leg. So, it ain't like Tennessee's gone down there too many times with a realistic chance of winning the game. You had a realistic chance of winning the game in 23. You had a chance to win the game in 23. You didn't get dominated. You went down there. You blew some opportunities. You got shut down in the second half. We remember what happened.
Yeah.
But you had a chance to win that game.
Yeah, and you've had some other chances down there on the road, where you came up short. I mean, before the 2022 game, the closest games you played against Alabama were on the road during that stretch run where they won 15 in a row. I mean, the Cody block, that was down there. The 19-14 game in 2015 was down there. So it's not like you've played totally poorly down there every time you've been. Even the Jarrett Garantano game down there, that was one where you were sort of in it toward the end.
It's just crazy to me. I mean, I know the season is longer than 1 week. I know the narrative changes and everything, but it's just crazy to me that we are in this position. Like, after watching Alabama get ran through by Florida State and how high people's vibes were, it's crazy to me that we've gotten to the point where now so many people think we don't have a chance going down to this game, while Tennessee is still what I would consider a good football team. Like, if Tennessee had, fallen apart and lost to Georgia and lost to Arkansas and lost to Mississippi State and was 3-3, like, okay, it makes sense to why the narrative and the vibes have changed so much since week one. I would understand that. I wouldn't have any problem with that. But Tennessee's still 5-1. Tennessee's still ranked, right outside the top 10. We're still seen as a quality team. So it's crazy to me that we've gone to the point where so many people just feel really bad about Tennessee's chances in this game. Would we feel this bad if the game against Arkansas ended at 34-17? Like, even 34-24, because it feels like that last touchdown to let them draw to 3 just completely cratered the vibes. Like, so many people came out of that game feeling like it was a loss.
Well, I think that had an impact, but I think Mississippi State did too. Like, I think people expected dominance in those games, and you didn't really get dominance, and that's got something to do with it.
So, not beating Mississippi State by more on the road, it took the wind out of people's sails?
Yeah, I mean, say you won that Mississippi State game by one more touchdown, and then Arkansas you won 34-17. I think the vibe's different.
I just feel like it's unfair to assume dominance these days around the SEC. We talk so much about how much better the conference has gotten top to bottom and how there's no longer blowouts out there. I just don't think we can go out there and say, oh, we're playing at the bottom of the barrel conference, we got to go win by 21 or this is a failure of a game.
Well, my friend Seth Hughes gave me a stat yesterday that caught me by surprise. Sam, maybe you saw it, Cody, maybe you saw it, but on Sunday morning, he said there was a stat going around that the SEC's margin of victory was lower this year than the NFL's was. Like, games in the SEC across the board were closer.
Yeah.
which seems crazy when you think about the NFL and how every game, it feels like at times was within 7 points. Either the game's close all the way throughout, or a team rallies and gets some of those garbage time points to make it a closer game than it actually was. But like the SEC has been a little bit of a bloodbath this year. Like maybe Alabama fans don't care, but like maybe they're more trained for this. Maybe they're just happy. Maybe the opponent's just better because it's a road game or whatever. But like I don't know that they beat Missouri by 3. Like Missouri was driving with the chance to tie or win the game in that game on Saturday. Like they had it around midfield, right? I mean, they were right there at midfield, down 3 with a minute left. Like when you were watching it live, it felt like, okay, you just need one more completion to get in field goal range. Like you could see the big green line there on the field. Like they seem pretty confident when I've seen them online. It's like they're like necessarily clutching the pearls after a 3-point win. Now, again, I know Missouri's a better opponent than Arkansas, but that game was in much more of doubt than ours was against Arkansas. I just want to remind everybody, Arkansas never had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or take the lead.
Well, I think just the difference in, it being on the road versus being at home, that's probably given them some more confidence. And just the way that they started the season with just complete tragedy and now to be able to reel off 5 wins in a row, they probably feel better about themselves.
Is the difference like how you finish the game? Like, is that last second, literally last drive, 4th down, 20 seconds left, a minute left, whatever it was, that last touchdown against Vanderbilt? Like, oh, it actually won by 16. It wasn't a dogfight at home against Vandy for 55 minutes. We won by 16. Everything's good because when I talk about context on Tennessee's side, I also want to have some context on Alabama's side. Like they beat they beat Vanderbilt by 16, but that was a game for the vast majority of the game. No, like Vanderbilt went toe to toe with them for a big portion of that game.
Yeah, because I really needed Alabama to cover, and they finally pulled through at the end. But it's a very, very good chance that they weren't going to.
Now you could say, hey, that's the difference between Tennessee and Alabama. They have the depth, they have the killer instinct. They go for 4th downs in the fourth quarter. They pull away, whereas Tennessee gives up points. And if that's your take, okay, like yeah, I'll listen to that. And maybe that matters. Maybe that's the difference in this game is like the fourth quarter, Tennessee runs out of gas and Heupel goes into a shell and Tim Banks forgets how to coach. And meanwhile, Alabama makes the big plays. If that's your take, okay. But like looking at the overall body of work, like, the fact Syracuse made the game a little bit closer than it actually was, the fact that Arkansas made the final score a little bit closer than it actually was, the fact that Alabama pulled away against a Vanderbilt team they were struggling against, like, all right. I feel like through the first 45, 50 minutes of games, Tennessee's been in every bit as much control, if not more, than Alabama has this year. Is the difference like Georgia dropped the pass against Alabama and they made plays against us? Because against Alabama, they dropped a wide open touchdown pass. Like it was wide open, it hit him in the hands, he dropped it. Against us, Gunnar Stockton threw a perfect ball to the pylon. A guy makes a Willie Mays over the shoulder catch as he's falling down to his knee, falling out of bounds. Like they made the plays against us. And they dropped a wide open pass.
Well, that's really where it's measured, I would say, is against Georgia. The fact that they went into Athens and won, I mean, that was a big time win.
It was
for them.
It was a huge win.
And so I think they're judged a little bit more based on that than they would be the Missouri and Vanderbilt games. But I mean, I agree. They weren't overly impressive against Missouri or Vandy, but they did go win in Athens.
They did, and look, you make plays, you don't make plays, whatever. But like again, Georgia, Gunnar Stockton made every big play, and if you go back and watch, I watched one highlight of like the guy that had put out the tweet about Tennessee's edge rushers and how good they are. If you click the actual highlights, like it is our edge rushers and Jordan Ross just absolutely crashing down on Stockton as he throws an absolute dart on 3rd down, like in between 2 defenders. And it's like, oh my God, this is kind of just a perfect play. Like, this is great defense. This is just a perfect play. And then again, I just talked about the 4th and 7 that he drops in an absolute bucket, a perfect throw on the sideline. And then against Alabama, it's like, oh, here's a wide open touchdown. Nope, I'm just going to drop the ball.
Alabama opened at what, 9.5 in the Tennessee game
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
And then the spread is, where is it at now? Is it down to
8.5 is where I saw it this morning.
8.5
or last night.
Do you think if Max Gilbert makes that kick, would that affect the spread? Would it still be that big?
I'd say it'd be 7.5, but like I just think on the road you're going to get those points. Like Georgia's 7.5 against Ole Miss. I just think it's hard to really put a team that has a talent discrepancy. And also keep in mind, like a lot of these spreads, unless something goes completely off rails, Cody, they are similar to what they are in the summer. Like very rarely does the point spread move too much in the summer if the teams are kind of where they're supposed to be. And you probably looked and said, hey, Alabama is 5-1. That's kind of where they're supposed to be. Tennessee 5-1. That's kind of where they're supposed to be. The teams are kind of who we thought they were. In the summer, it was basically the same spread, wasn't it? Wasn't it like 9.5, 10.5 in the offseason?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I feel like when we did that exercise, it was. But like, here's the throw I'm talking about. Like, look at this. Just look at this throw from this angle. And people will look and say, oh, another third down, they couldn't get off the field. Like, that's a quarterback that throws an absolute dart in between three guys as he's getting just annihilated from a pass rush.
Yeah, it's a big throw.
Like, that's just an absolute perfect offensive play.
And it doesn't help that is that a linebacker we've got? Yeah, the linebacker in coverage has no chance of doing anything there.
Yeah, but still, it's a window that's just boom right here with them four guys as he's getting annihilated. So, like, those are the type of plays Georgia made against us. And look, I'm not going to do the woe is me thing. They beat us. They made plays. But then you watch them against Alabama. It's the buff dog, weak dog meme because, again, they're dropping wide open touchdowns.
Yeah, and if that had that's two plays you can point to that if Georgia catches the wide open touchdown and beats Alabama, and then if we either don't give up that fourth down to Stockton or hit that kick, like that's two plays. That's the difference in narratives on the two teams, I think.
I'm not even trying to act like Tennessee shouldn't be, or should be smaller underdogs. I'm fine with where the number is. I'm not acting like Tennessee is going to, go down there and 100% win this game. But, like, I am surprised that so many Tennessee fans feel so badly about this game.
I think it's just some of the context and the way that we've been winning lately.
Sure.
It's, we talked about yesterday, we spent an hour, arguing about offense or defense or like where's the biggest issues here. But whichever way you want to look at that, I think it's a negative outlook for the way that we've been playing lately. And, if we go play like that, I think we will get beat by Alabama. But the good news is it's a week-to-week league, and I think that there's a chance we'll come out and play better. I think we're going to play with them. Like if I had to take somebody on the spread, I'd take Tennessee. I don't think we're going to go down there and get rolled or anything.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, that's a step in the right direction.
Well, I think we're a good quality football team. We've got a good quality program, and I expect to compete with Alabama. I don't know, if we're going to win the game, but I think it's going to be a game in the fourth quarter.
Sam, how are you feeling here on this Thursday morning? You said you're ready to get to the game, or does that mean you have excitement and optimism that Tennessee can go down there and beat Alabama?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like we're live to win that game. I don't necessarily think I'm, overly confident in going out there and winning, but I'm not in the camp of, hey, this is an impossible game to go out there and win and we're outmatched and this defense isn't playing good enough to even compete against these guys. I think we're doing plenty as a team on both sides of the ball to be able to be competitive in these football games. And I think they're kind of ready to go out there and get another big time game under their belt like they did with Georgia and kind of right some of those wrongs a little bit too.
You got to realize too, there's a lot of years of conditioning when it comes to Alabama. And I know it's a different coach now and it's not big, bad Alabama like it used to be, but when you get beat down the way you did for so many years, people are just going to have kind of a negative vibe looking at that game when it's not in Neyland Stadium. I mean, it still feels like a tall task to a lot of people. You've not won there in 22 years. You know, it's a lot of years of data that may not have anything to do with this game.
I don't think it does. Like the fact that it's just not Nick Saban on the sideline, like that to me changes the entire history, or it negates the entire history.
Yeah, and maybe that's the right way to look at it, but I think to a lot of people, it's still Alabama, you know, and it's just it's a game that you're going to be nervous, it's going to be a sweat, and I think a lot of people are just kind of have some dread in just what it's going to be like watching the game,
Well, to me, the fact that it's going to be, a slog or however you phrased it, close, like that to me should give the underdog a little bit of hope, a little bit of pep in their step that like, hey, this is going to be a game in the fourth quarter. In the second half, it's just, can you make some plays? All the pressure should be on Alabama in this game. Right? I mean, all the pressure should be on them. Their coach is the one that's got to beat Heupel. They're the ones at home.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that yesterday, that the pressure was on Alabama. And I don't know. I mean, I think there's pressure on both teams because both teams are trying to be in position to get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, there's no – I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying there's house money for Tennessee. I don't think there's house money. Like, like Tennessee needs to win this game. There's a real punishment for losing it. But, like, you're also able to play the underdog, nobody believes in us thing, like the disrespect card. And deep down, like Alabama fans can pretend like they're fully bought back in on this program they have. But, like, I do still think in the back of their mind they know that this could fall apart for DeBoer and he could be back to 9-3 at any moment. And, that's falling apart for them.
Well, they got to feel pretty good playing at home.
The team that lost to Florida State just ain't disappeared, I guess is what I'm saying. Like in the back of their mind, like, hey, they're winning close. But, like, they played with fire against Georgia. They struggled with Vandy for a while, and they were playing with fire against Missouri too. Like, typically, one of those is going to grab you.
Yeah, I think they'd be a lot less confident if they were going on the road.
Sure.
Like, it's a big difference when you look at DeBoer's track record there. I mean, he hasn't lost any big home games, has he?
No.
Has he lost any home games? I mean, Oklahoma, Vandy, Tennessee last year, and then they lost the bowl game against Michigan, and then this year it was Florida State. So, yeah. I mean, DeBoer's, they've been good at home.
Sure.
Now, they've had a couple of games that were close for comfort, like you mentioned South Carolina last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to see a list of teams that actually beat at home, like in terms of like quality top 15 opponents.
Well, Georgia.
Yeah, I was going to say Georgia's the one that jumps out, but I don't know if they actually have beaten anybody.
Yeah, and the Georgia game was such a weird game. I mean, had they not jumped on them so quick, which, give them credit or whatever, but Georgia kind of controlled the second half of that game for the most part.
Josh Heupel is as good as anybody in the country when you look at the numbers in terms of first play scripted drives. Like, we do a really good job offensively of going out there and scoring points on our first drive. Needless to say, if you're going to pull an upset, it would behoove Tennessee to go out there and get off to an early start, because to me, like, there's an absolute doomsday scenario of them taking the opening kickoff, going 12 plays, 13 plays, and then us coming out and going 3 and out. Next thing you know, you're back on the field for another 10 plays, and the defense is just fighting uphill the entire game.
Yeah, the game flow is going to be important in this one. The tempo of the game, who controls the tempo.
Now, when I look, Tennessee went on the road at Georgia last year. They went on the road at Alabama in 23, and they got off to really good starts in both of those games. They did. Yeah. They played a really good first half against Georgia last year. They played a really good first half against Alabama 2 years ago. So, like, I do have confidence that Tennessee is going to get off to a good start.
And the thing that went south in both of those games at halftime, you look at two of the guys who are regarded as two of the greatest when it comes to second half adjustments.
Sure.
Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. Kalen DeBoer doesn't really quite have that same respect.
No, it feels like when Alabama wins these games that they are not necessarily getting better in the second half. Like, you can't argue they got better in the second half against any of those Georgia opponents Georgia games the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, game control, I think that is going to be very important in this one.
We'll continue the conversation on the other side. We'll catch a quick timeout. Stick with us. It's Talk Sports right here on FanRun Radio.
Can't get enough FanRun Radio? Download the free FanRun app and take the best Tennessee sports conversations with you wherever you go.
One thing that jumped out to me when looking at this game, which, by the way, if you are not going down to Tuscaloosa, if you are looking for some friends to watch the game with, head over to Barley's on Saturday. Take in the third Saturday in October. Good TV selection, great vibes, great food, good booze, anything you could want, all in one place in the old city, and then a good place to celebrate after a win. Good place to celebrate after a win. Barley's in the old city. Also got sports trivia tonight if you and your friends want to play. One thing I found when looking at this game that kind of blew my mind and kind of was calling to me. Johnny, come to me. Come to me, Johnny. Come on, come over here. The first half over under for Tennessee is only 12.5. The team total for Tennessee is 12.5. Come to me, Johnny. Come on.
So 2 first-half touchdowns and
or 1 first-half touchdown and 2 field goals. Like, I think 13 would be the absolute bare minimum. Like, if I don't think Tennessee is going to score 13 points in the first half, I need to reconsider heading down to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, this offense does lead the nation in scoring.
Well, that's what everybody keeps telling me.
48.2 points a game.
Everyone keeps telling me it's the number 1 offense in the country, and I just told you that Josh Heupel's scripted plays are as good as anybody's, and we've had as much success as anybody on those first drives. Like, Tennessee went out and scored a touchdown against Georgia last year on the road with a much worse quarterback and a much worse offense against a much better defense. Like, I feel like 12.5. Again, if I don't think Tennessee can score 13 points in the first half, I might not need to go down there because Tennessee's not going to win the game if they don't score at least 13 points in the first half, right? Like, Tennessee's not going to be in the game, I don't think.
No, I don't. I think that would be accurate.
Come to me, Johnny. 12.5 first half team total.
That would just be saying, you think Alabama's going to control the first half with that ball control offense. That would be what you call the doomsday scenario.
Sure. And that is possible. I mean, if Alabama gets the ball first, Tennessee, you could tell me maybe Tennessee only gets 3 possessions in general in that half. That is possible. That is possible, but still, again, I just feel like I don't need to go down there if I don't think we're going to score at least 13 points in the first half.
Yeah, last time we were down there, we scored 20, and that was Joe Milton.
Come to me, Johnny. Now, that was also Jalen Milroe, who was a little helter-skelter. He's a little hectic. He was a little inconsistent, but I still think Tennessee's just good at starting games. Tennessee's just good at scoring points on their first drives.
Typically, yeah. Yeah, they are.
Like against Syracuse, 9 plays, 59 yards, a field goal, first one of the season. Against Georgia, a damn near perfect drive against Georgia, 8 plays, 75 yards, and a touchdown. We just mowed right down the field there.
Oh, yeah, that was beautiful.
Against Mississippi State, 7 plays, 55 yards, field goal. Against Arkansas, 7 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. So, we're 4 for 4.
Shout out Wendy's.
In terms of going down and getting points. Now, I would say that 2 field goals, don't love. I know a penalty stopped us from scoring against Syracuse. I feel like we were kind of moving there and then got a false start and a fumbled snap or something like that on that first drive. I don't necessarily remember the first one against Mississippi State and how it stalled out, but at least you scored in all 4 of them.
How have our second quarters been? I know not great against Georgia. We scored at least some points against Arkansas in the second quarter. What was Mississippi State like? I forget.
We got outscored 10-7 against Mississippi State. Our drives in the second quarter, we went 6 yards, 6 plays, 19 yards. Took 2 minutes off the clock. We punted.
We trailed both games in the second quarter, right? Mississippi State and Arkansas.
Correct.
Georgia, you had them down.
Georgia, you had them down 21-14 basically for most of they scored a touchdown on their first drive of that kind of went from the first quarter to second quarter. And then they ended up getting another field goal. So that everyone kind of came to a halt in the second quarter against Georgia. Mississippi State, 6 plays, 19 yards punt, 4 plays, 75 yards touchdown. So that was good. You moved through there. You were aided by a penalty as well, but you got there. 10 plays, 61 yards, missed field goal against Mississippi State. So, like, those were your drives against them. I don't know if there's anything to take away there. I don't know. Second quarter against Arkansas, you played better than you did in the third quarter. If anything, I would say I'm more worried about the third quarter than I am about the second quarter. If you're trying to build a narrative of a letdown quarter,
well,
I feel like we've been pretty bad in the second half so far this year, and especially the third quarter. You played pretty bad offensively. Like your third quarter against Georgia, offensively was abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
Like your third quarter against them, you went 3 and out, -1 yards punt. Or actually, you went turnover, 3 plays, 6 yards, turnover, 3 and out, -1 yards punt, 4 plays, 13 yards, turnover. Like that was your third quarter. And then you hit the touchdown before right at the end of the quarter. So you did get on the board, but that was with 30 seconds left in the quarter, if I remember correctly.
Those interceptions against State that bounced off Kitzelman's chest, were those in the third quarter?
No, those were one of them was, and one of them was in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
One of them was in they both might have been the fourth quarter, but I know one for sure was. The other would have been right there kind of on the cutoff.
If I tell you we win the third quarter in Tuscaloosa by a touchdown, you feel pretty good?
Yeah, I definitely do, because I think when you look at Josh Heupel's when you look at the conversation about Josh Heupel on the road, is the question about Josh Heupel on the road not the second half? Because to me, it feels like the second half. 2024 against Georgia, you were there, man. You were there. You had a chance to, you went into that game, tied at halftime, and then you got shut out in the second half. Even against Arkansas last year, it was only 3-0. Now, you came out, you scored 2 touchdowns on your first drive, but then you gave up 16 points, during the second half. It was 3-0 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't play good. You had 2 good drives out of the third quarter. Don't get me wrong. But then after that, you got completely shut down.
Well, the 2 biggest games people point to would be South Carolina 22 and Arkansas last year.
Well, I think I look at just looking at Alabama second half, though, of 23. Like, you were up, 20-7 at halftime? You got outscored 27-0 in the second half.
Yeah. What goes on in the second half?
Missouri, hold on. It goes deeper than you think, Cody. Missouri, it was only 13-7 at halftime against Missouri in 2023. If you remember, Tennessee fumbled right at the end of the first half, gave up a field goal. It was 10-7 with a minute left. Then Jalen Wright fumbled, and you gave up a long play, I believe, that set him up for a field goal, if I remember that correctly.
I think you found an alarming trend.
And then you got outscored 23-0 in the second half there.
Are we ass in the second half?
2022. I mean, if you even want to go, you talked about the South Carolina game. Correct? Was that not a close game at halftime? Was that not?
That it feels
30. Was that not 30? I guess it was 35-24, and then you scored your first drive out of the third quarter.
I don't consider that one part of the narrative. If you had already given up 35 at halftime.
You'd already given up 35, but it was 35-24, and it was 35-31 after your first drive and
then it fell apart. Yeah, well.
So, the same as Arkansas, you come out of halftime, you score, because those scripted drives, Josh Heupel scripted drives, he's really good either at the beginning of the third quarter or the beginning of the game, whenever Tennessee gets their first possession, hey, we got a pretty good feeling we're going to score some points. So yeah, you made it 35-31, and I remember thinking, here we go, let's go, and then boom, they're off and running, and it's 63-38.
What about Florida 2023?
Florida 23, I don't know if that one's going to fit because I feel like you were just kind of always at arm's distance in that game. Now, you didn't play a good second half by any means, but no, they were beating you 26-7 at halftime of that game. But you had chances to get back in the game and couldn't do it in the fourth quarter, the second half. Now, I will say your defense, you could say the defense played better. You could say Florida took the air out of the ball. I don't know what the right answer is, but they scored 3 points in the second half.
Well, that one Florida may not fit the narrative, but you gave a lot of examples there that I hadn't really thought about how bad we've been in some of these second halves. That's alarming.
Second halves ain't great on the road. Like, to me, that's the problem of Josh Heupel on the road. That's the problem. Georgia 22, that one doesn't necessarily fit either. That was another one where Georgia kind of took the air out of the ball because they didn't need to score anymore. So you actually won the second half there 7-3 as you scored a touchdown, with like 5 minutes left to make it a little bit more respectable.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of some of the big home wins, like second half, you won the game against Florida and Alabama last year.
Sure.
Second half 2022, obviously you were great against Bama.
Yeah, at home, I don't think it necessarily extends. I don't think it really.
Now, Florida 22, you gave up some second half points. That was kind of like the Arkansas game. You compared those.
You gave those up in the fourth quarter. You dominated the third quarter, though, and won the game.
So what do we got to do to improve our situation?
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. Like, if you told me in 22 or 23 even that it was still a little bit of a depth issue, like, okay, I guess. I don't really buy that in 23. I think it's more of a – Sam, you see it with the Titans. You just see the offense can't really hold their weight, and the defense kind of lets go of the rope. I feel like that's kind of what it was against Missouri in 23 and even maybe Alabama. Like, the offense just couldn't do anything. Defense starts giving up plays.
Why can't we script every drive?
Yeah, I always wonder that too. Why not just do the same thing every drive? Why not just have a script for everyone? Hour one in the books. She'll kick off hour two of headlines. It's Talk Sports on FANRUN Radio.
The flagship station for Tennessee football. Fans. FANRUN Radio.
Running a business?